Turn on. There you go. So, what was before the show? Our lovely engineer was bragging about how he learned, and he didn't need to learn anything more, and he was just at the top of his game. And what we got was 5 minutes of silence, and me going blah 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 blah, all animated and nothing. So, thank you, Engineer Des, for reminding us what the Doing Better show is all about. It's about never resting on your laurels, always working to grow and get better at all times. So,
And when you have a live show, always make sure that you're tuning into your own live show.
yes. So, thank you for taking care of that. Hello, friends. Let's try this shit again, shall we? If you missed,
Shout out to Mariani, my sister.
oh, she recognized that. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Doing Better show. We've been off a month with lots of problems, but all the problems are solved now and we're moving forward. We have a wonderful guest today. Today, Liz Billz is joining us. There you go, Des. Press the button. Let's see Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Nice to say hi to you again. There we go.
Be here.
Yes. Anyway, the reason that Liz is here is to share some exciting stuff that she's got going on. And as I was saying before we realized we were silent, Liz is the perfect guest for this show because on top of being incredibly talented naturally, Liz is always working at her craft and has the fruits to show for it. So if you ever get a chance to see Liz with Liz Billz and the Change, and what any other projects right now currently?
No,
Musically?
just
Okay.
Liz Billz or Liz Billz and the Change.
So if you ever have a chance in either form to see Liz perform, do it. A really amazing, great music, great songs. But even if you put that aside, just in the performance and the vocal standpoint, really an amazing show. So before we get into things, Danny, how you been? It's been a while.
I've been pretty good. I just came back from recording a commercial.
Oh, fancy.
Minds with Purpose. We're dropping merchandise and we have we're making a whole commercial on like services that we're doing now.
Excellent. Building and growing.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And on Friday, I got to give some of my merchandise for a sensitive club to Zeddy Will. That's like he makes music. He's a music artist. He has like 1 point something million followers. So
Okay.
I got to actually give him some merch. I was recording the event, got to take pictures, do that kind of stuff. So it's been a pretty crazy weekend.
That sounds like a very fun, crazy weekend. Excellent. The joys of youth. Cool.
I
All
already
right.
feel old.
Don't start doing that. So, Liz, let's get started and talk about what you've got going on. So, you've been performing for forever, effectively, and you've been teaching music lessons for also almost forever, right?
Yeah, it's going on over a decade now.
And you
So
do mostly vocal stuff, but also guitar, piano, sort of a variety of things.
I used to do it all, but
Yeah.
now I'm really narrowing it down to just teaching singing to people with chronic pain and who feel unsafe singing.
So that's something I bet a lot of people have just heard that phrase for the first time ever. Can you tell me explain?
So I was diagnosed with a voice disorder called muscle tension dysphonia over 10 years ago now. And muscle tension dysphonia is, tension with the voice. People have a strained or hoarse voice. It can often be a mind and body disorder. So it's physical tension and also emotional factors like stress. And treatment often should involve, addressing physical and emotional causes. And so that's why I feel like I'm really disciplined and I've really worked on my technique and also my anxiety and stage presence because I really had to, because I've had a disorder of my voice. And yeah.
So, you had obviously been singing for quite some time before you learned about this, correct? Like you said 10 years ago, so you've been singing for a long time. How did this, how did you find out about it? And then how did that change your approach?
Yeah, I started to get symptoms of like burning and pain when singing and speaking. So I was like eating 20 cough drops a day. I was going to teaching lessons, and using my laptop to speak for me.
Oh, wow.
I would go to doctors and they suggest that I just quit singing. So yeah, the mainstream sort of Western idea was just, well, they didn't really understand. A lot of people don't understand muscle tension dysphonia, so they didn't know what I had going on. So it took a long time to even diagnose. But I was diagnosed around like 27 years old, and I'm going to be 40 this year. So I've had it for a long time now.
When you say you've had it, like, is it something that you developed from singing, or is it something like, you say you've had it, like, did you discover that you had it and you always had it? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it something that's
It's like, the chicken or the egg with this kind of condition. Because it's like a mind-body condition, so I'm very shy in like regular life. I'm very quiet. And then I've taken on a lot of leadership roles through like teaching and performing. And when I started teaching for the first time, that's actually when the condition started to come on. So I would be using my voice a lot and have to lead people and be extroverted, which is a part of my personality, but it's not like my natural sort of way, which is, so that's one of the reasons that it started to come on, but I think, or manifest itself through like, a period of my life of more like stress and where I had to use my voice more. So yeah, I just kind of sort of have a duality of personality where I'm very quiet, soft-spoken, but on stage I'm very loud and belting. And so there's no real like happy medium.
Yeah. I mean, I think that personality balance is fairly common, right, in performers, right? There's not everyone. I'm obnoxious everywhere, so I think there's a lot of people who are like you that are very, sort of quiet and shy in one place and are able to unleash on stage.
Right.
So, is this a common thing? Are there a lot of people that are struggling with this?
It can be common. So I put out like a YouTube video kind of sharing my success story with MTD 10 years ago, and it shockingly went viral. And then I just started having people with MTD emailing me all over the world, and that hasn't stopped for over 10 years. So
wow.
And that's why now I'm moving into teaching people with MTD full time.
So are these all people that are performers and then had a similar situation with you, or is this something that affects, like, is this only for singers? Is this something that can affect non-singing people? Is there other, like, will people get other vocal problems similar?
It's mostly like professional voice users, so
Okay.
whether that be like teachers or usually people using their voice a lot, usually for a living, but it's nuanced too. But I would say it's usually singers or professional voice users, and there's usually personality characteristics like a lot of self-pressure, criticism, perfectionism, anxiety. So that's also like an interesting common thread. A lot of us have similar stories, and then it's hard to get treatment and it's hard to heal because in Western medicine, they kind of just look at one thing, they're just focusing on physical retraining when it actually requires neuroplastic pain. I can go into that after. It requires like a mind-body approach, so it's not just retraining the physical voice.
Do you feel like that's part of a bigger movement in our culture around approaches to medicine, sort of the mind-body thing?
Yeah, I'm starting to see it happen more. Are you seeing it?
I think absolutely. I think specifically, obviously, there's a lot of people that are feeling less. Pay attention, you. There's people that are feeling less. Sorry to direct my engineer. The out of touch with Western medicine, feeling like it's not solving anybody's problems, and they're just getting. I mean, my big sort of step away from that was every time I went to the doctor, they tried to give me a drug, and I react badly to drugs. So like. It's kind of a non-starter for me. So that's what made me start thinking otherwise. But specifically the mind body stuff, I just notice a lot for myself. If I want to track when I'm going to get sick, like a cold or the flu, and I track and I make a graph of being around more or less people, being around more or less sick people, no relationship whatsoever. There's no relationship. You could sneeze in my face and cough in my eyeball and have the flu, and that does not get me. It hasn't been my experience. I've taught for years. I was around sick, snotty kids forever. Like, if I'm mentally in a bad place, and I'm trying to think of a less wishy-washy saying of it. If I'm struggling with depression and anxiety, let's be honest, let's call it what it is. I get sick. Like that's like the most clear predictor of me getting a cold, me getting whatever, fill in the blanks, is me being in a bad place, just feeling shitty about my spot in the universe. So for me, like that according to the official Western medicine, certainly Western medicine 20 years ago, that's fake and made up and all in my head, right? Like there's no I'm a silly delusional person who should know better and should take my NyQuil like a good boy. But like, I mean, I track this. I've been paying attention for years. Like literally, I probably have 20 years of data on that sort of relationship there. And if I take care of myself mentally, and when I feel down, be like, oh, you're not feeling great? Take some vitamins, woosah, have some tea, get some sleep, all the self-care things. I don't get sick. And that's a very, very different way. So anyway, that's why when you said the mind-body connection thing, and I think with this, I noticed the same thing with like neck pain. Like when you get in your neck, and then you think about it, and you stress about the thing, there's definitely a mind-body connection there for me too.
That's actually it's called neuroplastic pain. That's like a big foundation of my course.
Neuroplastic. That's what it's called. Neuroplastic pain.
If it's chronic. So if you're like, oh, I have a crick in my neck, and then you start to have fearful thoughts around it, and then you start obsessing about it, and you start trying to get rid of it, and then it just doesn't go away, that can be called neuroplastic pain, chronic pain.
Can you bring us back to the vocal stuff? So how does that relate? Because I think this is fascinating. You got me. I'm so excited now.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So the definition is, neuroplastic pain is pain that persists because the brain rewires itself to keep feeling pain even after the original injury has healed. It happens when the brain becomes hypersensitive to pain signals, causing chronic pain without ongoing damage. So, for instance, for me, I've had chronic pain somewhere down the line in my life. You don't really have to figure out what it was, but my brain, a switch was flipped, and my brain decided that we were unsafe. And so pain is a danger signal. And I have a nervous system now that's hypersensitive. So the switch has been flipped, and a pain is going to my throat when I sing or when I speak, because the brain is confused and is just sending that danger signal because it can't tell the difference between a performance or, teaching someone in a lesson and it's really difficult. It can't tell the difference between that and like a bear attacking you. So it's really fascinating. So they're saying like 80 to 90% of people with chronic pain, it's neuroplastic. But in Western medicine, they're slow to take on this approach because they just treat symptoms. And neuroplastic pain is sort of getting to the root cause. So it's basically and then with my pain, I had a lot of fear, and then that just feeds a cycle. So the more that you react in fear and panic and kind of go down this hole, it's kind of you get stuck there. And it's neural pathways in your brain that get stuck to fire off pain.
Yeah, I think that's so whenever I'm talking about brain stuff, I was thinking of like, you got to think about the brain as a web, right? And it's like this, it's not like a list of information. It's like this a giant web of connections, right? And the way I always think about this, the pathways thing's an interesting one, because if you think about a path through the woods, right? Like the first time you make your way through the woods, there's no path, and you got to make that path, and it's really hard. It takes time, and you got to break through. Second time a little easier, third time, and then once someone's been down that path 1,000 times, it's incredibly easy to go down, right? And I bet all of us out there can think of a path of thoughts that you go down very, very quickly, and it's that sort of easily pre-trodden path. And I think this happens a lot with unhealthy thoughts, whether it be, and again, it could be what you're talking about. I think there's 1,000 ways psychologically, right, that we play these things out, and something will happen to you, and you'll sort of trigger this, these sort of psychological events, and these same old paths you've been going down over and over again, whether it's in something of anxiety or, fill in the blank. I think we all have different ways. I think people act out on anger based in this way as well. There's 1,000 ways it can manifest, but this, I guess what I'm saying is what you're saying really seems to resonate with the way I've been seeing the world in the last few years. And I think when it comes to the health stuff, I think it's this is the way that we need to start opening our eyes and our perspectives.
Yeah, I agree. Because we can create new neural pathways, and sometimes, a lot of times, for people with chronic pain, it just takes the education to understand. Oh, I don't have an injury. It's just, the brain is a bit confused, and the answer is to self-soothe and make yourself feel safe, and instead of trying to fix the problem. And then actually the pain starts to diminish, or through somatic tracking, where you just kind of like sit with the pain and you're curious about it and you're labeling it instead of panicking. So a lot of people I work with, including myself, panic. They have intense fear and panic and resistance. That's like keeping it alive. So through that education, the pain can diminish. Like, I'm out of chronic pain, and they tried to diagnose me with fibromyalgia. I have muscle tension dysphonia because I have a really strong mind-body connection. So that's why I have a lot of sensations in my body when I feel feelings. And so when someone told me, oh, you don't have to be afraid, and kind of giving me some guidance, it's really helped me to feel safe in my body. And so I don't experience chronic pain like 100% of the time anymore.
Wow. I just think this is such important stuff for people to hear, and this is it's revolutionary. It really is. It's it's like light in the room, quite frankly, because this is, I don't think there's a single person on the planet who can't relate to what you're saying right now and can't think of like, oh, you know what? Oh, I am contributing to my own, and not in a blame way, right? It's not like, oh, it's all my fault, I'm doing it all to myself. I think sometimes we go to that when you go, oh, mind-body connection, oh, it's all in my head, like da-da-da, and like that sort of dismissive attitude I find very unhelpful when you talk about any mind-body connection thing, because your mind is just as real as your body, right? Like, this is all 100% real, it's all 100% legitimate. And it's not like, there's no like, well, you have control over it, like blame. Like, no, you have to, control is, you like you're saying, you have to have the education, you have to know first, and then have to have the support and the practice and all that. So I'm so excited to hear about your work and about what you're doing.
Think that information is empowering, at least for me. I was like, oh, I have control over my mind, and I can choose what thoughts are not facts, and I can sort of rewire that. And I've always found it really liberating and fascinating and fun, a fun challenge, because I've been in so much chronic pain physically and emotionally, and spiritually. I've been so down in the past that maybe hit a rock bottom, and I was just like, just give me a way out. And I was always not into the drug, like antidepressants. I think they do work wonders for certain individuals, but for my kind of case, it was more like my mind, and how I saw the world, and maybe how my nervous system and my brain is perceiving the world. So I'm kind of like stuck in like a fight or flight situation, and it's all like interconnected, mind, body, and yeah.
So what is it? can you tell us a little bit about what you do, what that looks like, how you go about helping people?
Yeah. So, yeah, I was lost for a long time, and I just kind of collected. I've healed. I mean, what is healing? I haven't cured myself, so I haven't gotten to a place where I don't feel feelings anymore, or where I'm like always feeling great. I think now the difference between now and then is I love myself. I'm going to fight for myself, and I have the tools. And I know and by being in the, dark night of the soul, like I've really had to get to know myself. So I like honest with myself. So that, putting this class together, I've had to really like ask myself, what the hell have I done? And like, how am I going to teach that?
But I think what you're saying is such an honest and real and powerful and just the way it is perspective, right? Because the commercial version of everything, right, is like, before I was a terrible, useless piece of shit and like I couldn't do anything right, and now my life is roses and fairies and I walk on clouds and everybody loves me, right? And like, that's not how any growth works. That's never how it is. There's always, you're never trying to get to a place of perfection. We're never trying to find final solutions for problems. That's just not how real life works. And people who tend to pursue that are either very disappointed or very dangerous. And I think the real perspective is like taking things from a place where they don't feel manageable to where they do feel manageable, right?
Right, yeah.
Where you can't be successful to, oh, I can be successful. I can work through. I can continue to grow.
Yeah, it's like kind of like growing your like capacity to hold space for pain in a sense, or like in the past, I was an addict, an alcoholic. I don't know if I was an alcoholic, but I binge drank. I was a bulimic. I was just a mess, and I just couldn't handle pain. Like I had no capacity to handle hard things, and I like never even tried. I would just numb myself because I thought my feelings would kill me if I felt them. And so maybe part of the healing journey is also, just staring that pain in the face and then, I don't know, becoming stronger and stronger and more capable and growing that space within me where I can sit with really hard things and not just survive, but like thrive and feel so alive and feel so much love too. Expanding my capacity to feel like all things and to be strong in that and stable in that, because I think that's life. Like my mother just died in June, and I'm still, it sucks, but I'm like, wow, I'm like surviving this, and I'm like happy, and yeah, from where I've come from and where I am now, I'm like, that's healing. Like to be able to create that space. So yeah, I don't know. Just went off on a tangent, but
no, but I think again that creating space for creating space for pain and like knowing you can get through it, right? Like you say, I can get through this, and it really hurts. I lost my dad last year, so I get unfortunately understand where you're coming from on that one. And I think the ability to be sad and cry, and that's okay. Right, and I think a lot of people who struggle with drugs and alcohol, as most of us have at some point in time in life, I think often there's that thread of like not being okay feeling your feelings, and I just think it's such a powerful message to say, yes, you can get through, and
yeah. And I guess like with my class, or like what does this mean as far as like singing and feeling safe? It's like, I've gone to a place where I'm not in chronic pain, but I always tell people like I still do experience like MTD at times. And there was a time when I felt like I was a failure, or like, should I be teaching or leading or speaking on this? Have I healed? I was like, oh, I have. I'm just not in chronic pain. I just experience normal pain now. And I would say muscle tension dysphonia means that I feel very deeply. I'm very connected with my body. And it makes me the passionate performer that I am. And Um, yeah, so it's also a choice on how I look at it. But so I had a show last night and I did experience like some pain, but it's not always the case. Like I haven't performed in a long time. So, my class is all about mindset work. So I do a ton of mindset work, just like trying to work the story so it works for your growth instead of keeping you sick. Like I could have had a story last night where like, I'm back where I started. I had pain. I just felt overwhelmed at this big party with all these people, and I just had vocal pain. And I could go down that rabbit hole, or I could go the other way and say I did a great job going to the other room, taking care of myself. Warming up, comforting myself, getting up on the stage and pretty much slaying it like no one would know. And yeah, I'm an introverted person. Sometimes that's just how it is. And what I'm doing is I'm self-soothing and taking care of myself and loving myself and saying my nervous system just needs to build up to this again. And I have a lot of shows this summer to get back at it. So I don't know. I think as like someone who teaches people with the same condition and who's leading a class on it, I guess it's important to be authentic and like transparent and just speak of my like true human experience. And I'm very introspective and I'm like very sensitive. So a lot of what happened last night at the show is me just being very in my mind, thinking a lot. And I just think it helps to just talk about it. And I think I have a lot of success, like feeling good. Like I experienced a lot of joy last night, regardless.
Can I ask a question? I have a maybe this might be a stupid question. I don't think it's a stupid question, but we'll find out. So when you talk about you got a lot of shows and about some voice pain. So how much is the voice like other muscles? Let's say like if we were gonna go play basketball for 3 days in a row, I'm gonna be sore. And I might have some, like there'll be some level of pain I will associate with that I wouldn't consider. It's not an injury. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like I'm sore because I played the thing. I was athletic. I'm old and I was doing sporty things. Is that true for vocals as well? Is there a certain time, like if you're doing a lot of singing over a lot of time, that there's certain, like you're gonna get sore the same way your legs get sore when you run?
Yeah, I guess for me last night, it wasn't like a voice conditioning issue. It was a nervous system issue. So my nervous system is so connected to my voice that I will start to experience pain because I'm not regulated.
I was trying to differentiate. I was trying to say, like, is there? So you're talking like there's like the MTD pain, right, that we're talking about. But is there another like automatic, like even Jason Tatum played a basketball game tonight, and he played one 2 nights ago, and he's in the best shape in the world and whatever. And I bet he's in his tub right now, being like, "Oh, I'm so sore," whatever. Like, so, like, is there a certain amount of like inevitable? Is that something that if you sing a lot, the same way if you play basketball a lot, that like there's going to be soreness that's not in any way, shape, or form, bad or related to any sort of disorder or injury?
Yes and no. Like I guess it's like a dance you play with the voice because you want to make sure you're not doing things technically wrong to create or like overusing your voice. So for this performance, and for the summer, I've been like practicing at least 3 times a week, if not more, 5 times a week, conditioning my voice, like dancing and singing and really spending a lot of time on the microphone before the show, which I'm sure any professional athlete's doing. And then of course, like when you're at the show or you're like playing the game, it's a different, it's a next level as far as like energy.
Yeah, 100%.
People looking at you. And so it's like, and so you're right. I think like you kind of have to grow into that aspect of that. And I would say, today, I think it depends on the person, like vocally. It really depends on the person. Like for me, I'm so sensitive and I get drained by people a lot of the time. Like my recharge time is when I'm at home, like home alone. So like when I'm with people, it can be draining. And the next day I can feel like I've been run over a truck. Unfortunately, sometimes I feel that way. I feel like that today.
So, but
So
are there people that can go out there and sing for 3 hours, for put on a 3 hour performance 5 nights in a row and not be sore and not
yeah,
be
I think it
that's a
depends.
thing?
Oh, no, like it really depends on the person. Like my
Okay.
co-singer, Jess, like it's personality too. Like she's extroverted. She's not introspective. She doesn't think a lot. She gets recharged by people and experiences. And she's like hasn't worked on the set at all. Like I worked on it like 100 hours, and she just goes in and like slays it. She's like, my voice feels great, and she didn't even warm up or anything. So I can see that there is a big like mind
Okay.
component to singing. But if she did that like 5 days in a row, she would be feeling it
Right.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely, you have to take care of yourself, but there's also like differences in, I think, minds, because I think singing is 90% mental, 10% physical, and a lot of it is a mind game. And I can just see that I'm just different from her, and I have a different experience.
So, would you say that anyone can sing? Do you think that do you think that there's the people who are like, I can't sing at all, that it's more mental than physical?
Um, yeah, I feel like singing, like, what do they mean by that? Like, I can't sing at all because they don't sound like me, maybe, or
Well, I
something
mean,
like
just like if you just like, some people will just say, I can't sing, like I don't have that ability, it's not in my
that.
repertoire. Do you think that's a real thing from a physical standpoint, or did someone make fun of them when they were 6 when they sang and they're like, I'm never fucking singing again, whether
Yeah.
consciously or unconsciously?
Yeah, I guess that's like a complicated question, and it depends on like how I look at it. Like on one level, like I think we're all singers, and I think the speaking and singing voice are one and the same. I teach speech level singing, so it's
Interesting.
this idea that they're the same voice and you shouldn't separate them. And a lot of people separate them just because most of us do. I did in the past too. It's just like we think it's a different thing, but it's actually the same. And I think we're all singers and dancers and artists. And of course, that's been put on a pedestal, and no one's allowed to do it, once you're 20 years old, like, unless you're a pro.
Right.
So I think there's that going on too. But I think we can all sing. Do I think everyone can sing like as well as like, Beyonce, like have that kind of sound? Definitely not.
No,
But
of course. I mean, but you can say someone can walk and we're not all Usain Bolt, right? Like, I think I don't, I just think a lot of people say, I can't sing the zero. There's a zero
yeah.
on my singing, and like, there's no such thing. And I tend to doubt that that's true, and that more
Yeah, I
often than
think,
not.
yeah, we can all sing, but yeah, I think that what they're really saying is that I just sound terrible, so
Yeah.
I can't sing, but like you can, like, we're speaking in melody right now. Like when I speak, I go up and down. So I could even like speak, like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Like singing, you just like add a little spice to it, but I come at it from speaking, and that's given me a lot of tension relief as well, just to simplify it.
That's awesome. So, who are the people that are signing? So can you give me like an overview of your class first, and then tell me who are the people that are who should sign up for you? Who should get on your website?
So this class is really for the girl that I still am that girl, but the girl when I was diagnosed with muscle tension dysphonia, and I was like, what do I do? I have no idea what's going on. It took me over 10 years to get where I am at now, where I have, I would say, like 90% of the time pain-free performances. And I really, yeah, just pain-free, which is great. And so it's for that person. So it's usually for a person with muscle tension dysphonia. You don't have to have muscle tension dysphonia, but I would say some sort of chronic pain or anxiety or depression surrounding singing. Maybe you feel unsafe singing. Or maybe you're a professional voice user, you speak and you feel unsafe speaking. This class could also work for you. You don't have to be a singer, but I would say we're focusing on singing. And the class, we're going to focus on neuroplastic pain education, and so understanding the nature of chronic pain and how a lot of people with mind-body diseases like muscle tension dysphonia could have neuroplastic pain. I would say a good percentage of us do. We do. Have you heard of somatic tracking?
Explain, please.
Yeah, so
I have
like,
heard of it, but I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking on it with intelligence.
yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's about, if you're in pain, the last thing you want to do is like, lean into it. You kind of want to run away from it. So somatic tracking is like a leaning in. So you just kind of pay attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally to your pain, which is like pretty liberating for someone in chronic pain. It can be maybe scary at first, but yeah, it's just like you're kind of just paying attention to your pain on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So we do a lot of somatic tracking to just feel safe with our pain, with no like expectation to get rid of the pain, because that creates pressure. So just like working on just being with your pain. And sometimes the result is it's going to start to lift the pain. We do like a ton of mindset work. A lot of people like me have put a lot of pressure and criticism on themselves. So we work on perfectionism. Like I call myself an ex-perfectionist, or recovering perfectionist, which I think is a form of like self-hate. Perfectionism. It's a form of self-rejection. They say the opposite of perfectionism is compassion, which is like a love for
that's really
oneself.
good. I like that.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about that. I talked a lot about mindset already. I teach self-soothing, self-care techniques, self-love. Like I forget, I've been like in the self-love game for a long time, but I wasn't always.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Yeah. So, like meditating, journaling, dancing, good nutrition, sleep, community, which this group class is community of singers all around the world healing together. And then I'm there too, and I'm an example of someone who has overcome, and we need to see examples in order to, I think, rewire those pathways too. Like if we just believe that we're chronically sick, unfortunately, the mind, that is what will be, right?
Yeah.
And then the last thing is just, of course, therapeutic vocal exercises after we've done and all of this is nervous system regulation. So like regulating our nervous system so we feel safe to sing, and to do exercises, because a lot of people with MTD or anxiety around singing like can't heal on a physical level because it's so terrifying to do these exercises or sing, and you have to retrain your voice. But if you think you're injured, then you're kind of stuck in this sort of like, I don't know, between a rock and a hard place where you're just constantly resting your voice and like not wanting to retrain it because you're so afraid you're going to injure your voice. But through neuroplastic pain education, you understand you don't have an injury, which is like pretty important piece to healing MTD or even anxiety, like thinking that you're broken or different from other people, or your mind is like sick or wrong. So
Yeah, I love this. I think it's such a approach that works generally, and specifically, like I love that you sort of have this like laser focused application of a really a much more general principle. And I think it's like, so just hearing you talk about the freeing yourself from judgment in that stuff, and the self-care and the mind-body connection. I think it's just so, there's probably 1,000 ways in which this idea needs to be fleshed out in other parts of physical and mental health, and I'm so happy to see it happen in this area. Are you blazing a trail here? Is there a lot of people doing this?
Yeah. I just started the signups last week, and I have a bunch of people already signed on. And my goal is by the end of the summer to have 40 people from around the world. I think I might cap it at that. But I don't know. And I'm just going to let it unfold and see what happens as the course starts, and we just go for it and, kind of use my intuition and see where the universe is taking us as
Yeah.
well. So I'm prepared, but I'm also prepared to have an open mind.
That's very exciting. See, and we got the link. We'll make sure the link is in all our stuff so people can check out the website. Can I want to go. We have some standard Doing Better show questions that I'd love to hit you with. Danny, you got anything before I do that?
No. I mean, I like the conversation on how she was talking about how like 90% of singing is like mental.
Yeah.
Because like you saying you can't sing like is making you not be able to sing. So and that's 90% of it. If you try, like how she was saying, it's kind of like talking. Like you could talk.
Yeah. I have. It's really making me think from a person. I have some chronic back pain that I've been being seen for years. I've been to chiropractors and all those things, and like the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, there's some more connections on this bitch.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
like,
I have a website for you to go to. It's called tension myositis syndrome. Is what your chronic back pain could be. It's a mind body thing, and I bet through neuroplastic education you could get rid of your back pain.
I'm looking into this because I think this is really.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. There's a free pain program. Maybe you can put it in the show notes after too.
I absolutely will.
It
Yeah.
changed my life, and this is what kind of turned me on to neuroplastic pain.
No, I absolutely will. I think there's probably 1,001 applications of this. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I have two music questions for you from fans of the show. What's your favorite song to sing? And is that different than your favorite song to teach?
That's a good question. My favorite song to sing right now is I think it's a Patty Griffin song, "Up to the Mountain."
Okay, we'll have to look that.
Do you know that one?
I don't. I probably do. Maybe not.
Yeah. I don't have a favorite song to teach. I really just love when students come to me. I really like teaching mixed belting, honestly. So any mixed belting song that's like not like insanely high, but kind of in the mid to high range is my favorite to teach.
Do you have a dream collaboration? Is there somebody out there in the world that you would like to work with and make music with?
Dream collab. Gosh, that's a good question. I think I've been really called lately someone spiritual, someone in the spiritual world that we can connect, like singing with spirituality, like some sort of guru or some respected like spiritual person in that. Sorry, I don't have like an exact name.
Is that stuff influencing your music a lot lately?
Yeah, and I've just been getting messages from the universe. I don't know, my course is called Mind, Body, and Soul Singing, so I've been asking myself what that means and like what does like, the spirit mean in singing, and it's just like really, I don't know, connection with self, connection with the universe, connection with others. It means love. I was just thinking about it today, but I think it means, your light, so that light that can go out in your eyes, I think that's spirit. And I think it's part of what makes us human beings. And I just think it's really special and important to feel peace and contentment. I think in life and in singing, we need to have spirituality or cultivate that, or something's going to feel like it's missing, I think.
Absolutely. And I think this is a major shift that I feel happening in the world around us now. And certainly in this country, I would say. Because I think when we were growing up, we're a similar-ish age, I think religion and spirituality were very on the outs. I think in the 90s and 2000s, like these were things that were not highly regarded. I think the scandals of the Catholic Church didn't help and like all that sort of stuff, right? But I think in generally, religion was looked down on as being institutional and not helpful, which is probably mostly fair. And then I think like spirituality is like this hippie granola horse shit, like whatever, right? And I think there's one thing I've seen in the last 5 or 10 years. It's a lot of people coming back to one or the other or both, right? Like to people reconnecting with their religion or having these sort of spiritual journeys, and it's nice to hear you echoing that as well. Was there another question you had from the chat that you want to share? Okay. No, okay. So all right, here's our standard. I got a standard 5 doing better short questions. Question 1 is about your roots. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what about where you were from makes you who you are?
I was born in Boston at Brigham Women's.
Yep.
Like Mass General, I guess. I grew up in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And sorry, what was the last question?
What about where you're from makes you who you are?
What about where I'm from is what?
Makes you who you are.
Makes me who I am. I think I feel I always say Haverhill's a small town, but then people are like, oh, it's not a small town. But to me, it feels like one. I lived in Boston, and that felt vastly different. So, growing up in a small town and just being just so connected with people through my entire life, and developing those relationships has created maybe a sense of loyalty. I'm just a very loyal person. I think. I guess I never thought about how Haverhill makes me who I am. But
well, that's a good answer.
Loyalty, deep friendships, connections, ride or dies.
Yeah. Where have you been in the world that's had the biggest impact on you? Where outside of Haverhill?
I guess a place that I keep going back to is Costa Rica. I think, just traveling in general has a big impact. It can really help, shuffle things around within you and change your perceptions and get you unstuck and open your mind more. I don't know why Costa Rica, I keep going back there, but I just love traveling. I love Europe. I want to go to Italy again. I don't know. I just think traveling in general is important. That doesn't really answer the question.
No, but I think it definitely answers the question. I think the idea of travel to broaden one's horizons and perspectives is huge. And I think I've also been to Costa Rica, and I've only been once. I would really love to go back. It's probably a lot of places I go, I'm like, oh, that was cool, I went there. I'm gonna go somewhere else next, right? And Costa Rica is definitely a place. It's nice for us Americans because it's not too far away. It's not too expensive to get to, and it's incredibly diverse country. You can see so much in Costa Rica, right? 2 different oceans, and you got cities and jungles and the whole 9, right? I find it a beautiful place. I'd highly recommend it. Unless you suck, in which case don't go there and ruin my vacation.
Yeah.
Number 3. This will be maybe. This will certainly be easy because we've been talking about it the whole time. What's one thing, maybe I'll pick a new thing though. What's one thing you are doing better now than the old you, and how did you make that change?
I think, one thing I'm doing better now is maybe checking in with myself more and listening to myself more. I think it's something I've been cultivating for a long time, and I'm really slowing down, checking in, kind of like a mother to myself periodically, working less, relaxing more, reading more, putting breaks in between each lesson. So really trying to up my self-care game so I can be the best mom to myself as possible.
No, that's a really good one. I've never heard it put in the way of the mom thing. That's a great sort of shortcut in your brain to think about it. Another one I've heard some people say is how would you treat yourself like somebody you love? Think of the way you treat people that you love, right? The mom thing is good. That's a better one though, because you're really putting yourself in. You're giving yourself the responsibility to nurture yourself, and I really like that because it's on you, right? Effectively, not in a pressury way, but in in a realistic way. I really like that perspective, and it's something that I think is really, really hard to do. To start doing that's a hard path to forge through the forest of self, right? It's to sort of go down that I am going to treat myself like somebody I love.
Oh yeah. I guess for me it was harder hating myself, and I just got to a place where it's I was looking for someone to save me, and I was oh, I got to save myself. And I just felt up to the challenge. So it's grown in me over the last 20 years. So
that's awesome.
feels easy now, but it wasn't before.
What could we be doing better in your community, and what needs to change in order for that to happen?
What could we be doing better is maybe
In your community, however you want to define what your community is for the purposes of this question.
I guess one of the things that comes to mind now that I'm like just maybe having more community spaces in general and being more intentional with community, which we can all do. I've been cultivating myself. We can make that change. It's like an actionable change we can make, like actually cultivating community, like in having that. And especially now that I have like a 10-month-old son, it's like more spaces for community for families and allowing babies and the children. Because I've been reading that a lot of other countries are just far more supportive of of that. And I just went to the Dominican Republic, and we went for a walk, and they had all these community spaces outside, at night, and like they're all just with their lawn chairs, and all the kids are running around, and there was like 5 of them in that one town, and I was like, wow, people are just like all these families just coming together and sitting down and talking, and it's like, oh, we need that in Haverhill. I think.
So I couldn't agree more on that one as well. I think this is something that our culture is freakishly uncommunity like I think if you go so you said the DR, you went and saw that, but like you could fill in probably any other country around the world that isn't dominated by Western culture. So like if you go, I remember being in Spain 10 years ago, and like you get out to the little villages. In the little village, everybody sits around the village center, and like the old people sit and drink coffee. The little kids run around and play. The teenagers, get up to it's a whole community is built into what they do. And one thing that I miss when I was younger, Lawrence was great for it actually, is like people in the summer hanging out on the porch. And like that like porch thing of like you can just just walk over to someone's house and go hang out on their porch for a little bit. And like I think it's something that we were getting bad. I think consumerism and culture in general have pushed us that way. And then with COVID, it got horrendous. Like it became so much more okay to stay home and not socialize and be antisocial, and and I think we've lost so much, and no one's really noticed it. No one's gone out and said, hey, wait, nobody hangs out anymore. Nobody talks to their neighbors. There's nowhere for me to go take my 10-month-old and go hang out with other mothers with 10-month-olds and like do that thing, right? And like I know it's something that parenting, I always found really hard too, is not having that. You want to do it community. You want to have the tribe to raise a child thing, right? It's something you really want to do in a community environment. It's best done with community, and we're not doing a good job of that right now in America.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
It's all conditioning, because even in the nightlife, me doing a lot of nightlife work, they like even yesterday you said that people don't talk about it, but they were talking about it yesterday, like, oh, things aren't the same, and they feel like they haven't, like, even though people are coming out a lot more right now, it doesn't feel the same as before COVID.
Oh yeah, and
it's conditioning.
And like think about the music. Think about Haverhill in 2012, 2015, right? On a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you would go out downtown and there would be somebody's band playing, some DJ. Like you could do that main little drag there. You'd go out and there'd be people everywhere. And now it's half that maybe. I don't know. What do you think? To me, it feels about less than half of what the scene was 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because I just went to support my friend at a show, and they were like struggling with ticket sales. Nobody wants to go out. I mean, it's the winter too, but regardless, with social media and everything. Or they say we're like more of a lonely people now that we have social media than ever before, because we're really not connecting. I guess like in my experience, what I've seen is just. Okay, if I'm unhappy that there's no community, so I've been, not just me, but a bunch of us in my community or my friends, we've cultivated a community ourselves. And so we were lucky, during COVID, with the summer soiree, and Chris started it then, and now it's on year 6. And we just had a party last night with like 25 people just all coming together, nobody drinking or anything, just sitting around drinking cacao and chanting and just loving each other, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? But like, so we can create that change and create our own communities, and then those people are coming to our shows, and we can get down on it, but we have like a lot more, we can like create those spaces. So I was thinking maybe I could this summer, invite some moms and dads, and we could like sit around at a park downtown.
Yeah, no,
Start it yourself.
Exactly. You could make it happen. Exactly. Yeah. That's
where
wonderful.
my mind's been at lately. Like,
Yeah.
just like the change that we can create. Let's focus on that. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's so much that we don't have control over, and we can get really mentally ill over politics and all that crap.
Oh
But,
yes.
So just focus on what we can control and where we can put our love and energy.
One thing that makes me feel better is just the realization that the whole United States or the whole Western world is only like 5% of the whole population. So
That's true.
you could just go somewhere else and you'll see something completely different. Pretty much anywhere else in the world.
That's true. No, it's very easy to get caught up in our own little fishbowl, right? And
Yeah.
forget that this is not the be all
Right.
end all, right?
Sometimes
I
I forget that literally my mom was like in the island when she grew up over there. So like everything is foreign. Like for the older generation, at least for the people that came over here, all of these changes are like they're new, they're kind of scary, they don't like align with it. But then like I've grown into all of this, so I kind of feel like American.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right, last question for you, Liz, before we let you go. What is your this is a two-part question. Part one, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite thing to eat?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
It's just like basic pizza.
Pizza.
But
Oh,
I make it all from scratch. So I make the dough, the sauce. I've been like working on my dough
Ooh.
skills for a while.
I think I'll have to partake of this homemade pizza at some point in time. All right,
Yeah.
part B of the question. Would you rather only eat pizza for the rest of your life or never eat pizza again?
Probably never eat pizza again.
Wow, I'm impressed. Good. That's good discipline
I think
right
it
there.
would ruin it for me if I had to eat it all the time. At least I could have like the memories.
The memories of pizza.
Hey, does that
Awesome.
include pizza rolls? You can't eat pizza rolls.
Of course you can't eat pizza rolls. That's just pizza folded.
All right.
No calzones
Thanks,
either.
guys.
No calzones.
No
either?
calzones either. No. I don't know.
Crazy.
Cool. Do you have any last things you'd like to share with us before we say goodnight?
No, I think we covered it all.
Awesome.
Nice chats. Thanks for talking to me about high vibing
Yeah.
stuff.
No, I'm really excited for the work you're doing, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. For all of you guys out there, please go ahead and check out that link. If you know anyone who's struggling with this, Liz is the person to talk to. And both my kids have had lessons with Liz before. She's wonderful, Oh, and I've had lessons with Liz before too. A wonderful tea, the whole family, baby. So no, I highly recommend. Personal experience, 10 out of 10 would recommend. So. And it's mind, body, soul healing. Is that correct?
It's the Mind, Body, and Soul Singing Collective.
Singing collective. Mind, body, and soul singing
Yeah.
collective. Mind, body, and soul singing collective.
I
That's
know. I was like, is
beautiful.
that too long? I don't know. Just
I
make a
think-
decision and make it right.
I think it's perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. Please, everyone, check out Mind, Body, and Soul Singing Collective. Bye, Liz. Thanks for being here.
All right, bye, guys. Thanks so much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
You doing it, Des? You got it taken care of over there? Sweet. All right. Before we wrap, I wanted to just shoot the shit for a little bit because it's been a while since we've been here. We won't go too long because it's late on a Sunday night. Although the boy doesn't have school tomorrow, so that's good. Shout out to everyone on school vacation this week, teachers and students both. How you feeling about the world, DZ? What's any thoughts on the new administration, on how things are going down? What's your take on everything?
I see a bunch of new opportunities. Like, one thing that people were complaining about in my job the other day was, oh, they're putting tariffs in Mexico, so now all the tequila is going to be expensive, this, that.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, like, we have a whole brewery, which I just found out today got shut down. That's literally a place where they make alcohol. Why don't you get some money together, make your own tequila company, and then by the time the 4 years are over, and if another president removes those tariffs, you're gonna have a whole full-blown business. So at least with the way that I was thinking about that situation, I feel like with all the stuff that people feel like are getting taken away, we're kind of getting the opportunity to kind of do a lot more things for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's what I started thinking about. I haven't really like the immigration, the ICE being everywhere, that kind of stuff. I've been seeing that a lot more come up, but then it's like I think it's like I seen a live earlier for like a police, the FBI, the head of the FBI is like coming to Boston and like kind of forcing them to do.
Yep, I saw that. Yeah,
because they didn't want to, they refused it. And one thing that like kind of crossed the line was like nine of the people that they arrested were literally like rapists, and then they let them back out onto the street. And then it's like, nah, this is not what we're gonna be doing. So I don't really like comment on too many things because obviously like the city that we're in the sanctuary city, we know people. But I just see that there's a lot of opportunity rising.
That's a great perspective. So on the immigration thing, what I've seen, I think there's two different stories, right? Clearly there's some ICE is out and around, and there's some, like, I saw them set up at Market Basket. Looks like some sort of intimidation-y things going on. But the story that they're telling, and again, I don't know the facts on the ground, the story that they're telling is that they're targeting violent criminals. If that's the case, I mean, I'm not real mad about that. Like, if you're a violent criminal and you don't have any legal reason to be here, I'm okay with violent criminals, you know. And I'm being very specific. I don't mean like someone who's got a drug charge or someone who didn't have license plates on their car or whatever. I'm not talking about any criminal of any kind. I'm talking like if you're a rapist or a murderer or someone who's going out pointing guns at people or assaulting people, like I don't feel super bad about it. And, you know, so the what I'm hearing from the administration people is that they're basically targeting people who are violent felons. And if they happen to catch other people while they're raiding the house, like if they come to pick up Bob, the violent felon, and there's 10 other people who are illegal immigrants there, they'll get those people as well. But they're not targeting those people. So I think, again, I'm not a nationalist. I'm not a huge believer in borders in general. But if we are going to have a border, we should have a border. Like, if we're going to do this border thing, people shouldn't be able to go across it, and there should be legal ways to enter the country. And I think, as we've talked about immigration before, the two things that no one talks about is, one, how inefficient the system is to get your legal papers. We could fix that very easily. And two, we should stop bombing and destroying other countries and making people have to immigrate, because most people would much rather stay where they are than have to leave and you know, go through the jungle to bring their family here, etc. So that's an interesting one. I think the thing that I'm most not happy about right now is how quickly and how divided people are sort of falling into these same old camps about the same old Trump rhetoric that was around before, when no one seems to have learned their lesson. And we're getting a very divided take on everything. Trump is either Jesus reincarnated, walking on water with his angel wings, or he's devil Hitler, the worst person ever. And like, guess what? Neither of those things are true. If Trump is your hero and you think he's here to save you, you're wrong. And if Trump is the devil and you think he's here to destroy everything good about the world, you're wrong. That's not how the world works. And you can't make your decisions based on if your guy is doing it or not doing it. Stop having guys. Stop picking horses and races and being like, everything he does is good. So like, here's a classic example of this. Executive orders. Every president comes in, does a bunch of executive orders, and when they do it, if a Republican does it, Democrats go, this is unconstitutional. He doesn't have the power to do that. And if it's a Democrat doing it, Republicans go, this is unconstitutional. He doesn't have the power to do it. But at the same time, the other side, you know, when Biden was signing a bunch of illegal, unconstitutional orders, Democrats went right along with it because it was things they liked. And now the Trump is doing it, Republicans and the MAGAs are going, oh, it's fine. And it's like, as long as your authoritarian is forcing other people to do things that you like, then you're cool with it. But like, it's wrong. And you need to have principles, and you need to stand up based on things that are right or wrong. Doge is a great example. So like Doge, people are freaking out that they're going to cut jobs in the government, and that they're going to investigate the government, and they're going to investigate the FBI and the CIA and USAID. No, These are the FBI, the CIA, and USAID are trash organizations of American imperialism. This is corporate imperialism that is funded by my tax dollars. Those people can all go fuck themselves. They all routinely violate the Constitution. That's their job. They spend a bajillion dollars doing things that that don't help the American people in any way, shape, or form. And the only justification is imperialism. The only justification for USAID, if you actually know what they're doing, is imperialism. The only justification for what the CIA is doing is imperialism that benefits corporations. So the idea that like Democrats and the left and progressives are like, no, save USAID, save the CIA. Give me a fucking break. Like, of course, it's a good thing for these things to be looked into and eliminated when they're abusive, et cetera, et cetera. Anytime we're rooting out corruption, that's great. At the same time, let's flip the other side. Let's look at the other side of this. Elon Musk is not the right person to do it. I'm sorry. Love him or hate him, whatever, is irrelevant. The man gets a huge amount of money from the federal government. So having a federal contractor be the person who's checking your books makes no friggin' sense whatsoever. So again, like both of these arguments are totally illogical, and it's all about team sports. And we gotta move past that. And we have to move past it rhetorically as well. So
Tate's gonna be running for prime minister.
Oh, I did hear this.
Yeah.
So it's a while till they have an election, though, right? Didn't they just have an election?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, the way that he described it was he's fairly young. He probably has about 50 years left living on this earth, if nothing happens, God forbid. And he has basically the will of like all the young men, and they're gonna grow up and they're gonna have kids. So within the next like couple of years, he says like the odds are like who else really?
So this is my fear with centralized power, is that we get this situation when it sort of bounces back and forth between powerful people, and I would rather have less of that power to be bounced back and forth. So like when people are freaking out about Trump or freaking out about Biden or freaking out about Andrew Tate as prime minister, like maybe we shouldn't have so much power residing in these positions that you're worried about the next guy coming in and ruining your life. Like I don't see the benefit.
The problem is, or at least that, because I've been watching emergency meetings, like what they would be describing is nobody cares. Like nobody cares, especially like in England, nobody really cares about their politics, like that individual person. So like he wants to basically like put attention onto it, and since he's somebody that gets a lot of attention, he's getting onto it. Trump is a person that gets a lot of attention.
Yeah,
he's getting onto it. Like it's changing. Like the way that the system has been is kind of basically make everybody think it's not that important. I like this person, put this person, and that's why people were able to like kind of plant people into positions. Now, when it's like in the way that everything is going, that people are starting to pay attention, people are starting to be a lot more political, you gotta kind of like be careful. You have to be a little bit more modern. Like I forgot who's the name of this dude from France that he's now in the parliament over there in England, and he's like, I forgot what seat he's in, but he gets more attention than like pretty much 80% of the people there, just because he has a TikTok account and he's young.
Yeah, I mean, no. So I think what you said, like the opportunities now for young people to change the system are huge, right?
Yeah, because young people reach young people, and then those young people become the old people that are ruling the world right now.
Yeah. I think the key is that you don't fall into the same old bullshit patterns. You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't even think it's possible to fall into the same patterns, because at least the last couple of years we weren't able to see like all of these acts of violence. Now we're blasted with it. Yeah. So it's kind of, we live in a world where it's gonna call you on your shit, especially with like cryptocurrency and everything. That there's a clear blockchain that's public to anybody. So like if you're making weird transactions, you're doing weird like people could search up where your wallet was sending money to, what's going on. It's a publicly tracked thing. Rather, when you look at right now with money, you could do like, it's not good to track everything, obviously, because if everything's tracked, they could like cut your money like how they do in China and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's a double-edged sword, because they send a lot of money, or they control all the money right now. They get to do whatever they want with the money. They get to print the money and do all of that. But when it's public, like with cryptocurrency, you can't really do that kind of stuff, or at least everybody could watch you.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see all government transactions be on some sort of,
what they're trying to push pretty soon. what they're trying to push pretty soon is tokenization of everything. So I heard that Trump has like a coin, and they're gonna have like basically coins for any celebrities, for companies, that kind of stuff, just because they kind of it basically another stock market, but more controlled by the actual people. So it's a whole different concept.
That's what you got. Engineer Des
very
got
distracted.
2 cents. Freaking out over there. Oh Jesus.
So sorry, I had to find my I saw something. Wasn't someone's president rug pull on a crypto thing recently?
Javier Milei.
Yeah.
So that was I don't know if you're familiar with the rug pull. Was like Haktua Girl did that too, right? They put out a new coin, they pump it, and then they dump it and make all the money. And Javier Milei did get he had been involved in one of these. What are they called? The meme coins or whatever? Yeah.
Shit coins.
Yeah, whatever.
Which are made to pump and dump. Essentially, it's the most dumb thing to anyone to invest in.
And
it's all a very I don't know.
It's a double-edged sword, because what it basically does in this new world right now is, since the blockchain is public, you get to track everything. You get to see everything. So it's rug pull. It's a lot of rug pulling right now, just because not everybody uses it. But when everybody's using it, or everybody's forced to use it, like one of the things that the United States is talking about is getting a cryptocurrency reserve itself, a Bitcoin, and all of these other things. That's gonna do to Bitcoin is gonna make it, well, cryptocurrency in general is gonna make it legit, which it already is legit. Because people are making tons of money of it. People keeping reserves of it. World leaders are keeping reserves of it. So they're like how he was saying, like, people are doing rug pulls. It's a double-edged sword. You got to know what you're doing. You got to research like anything else.
See, that's my biggest.
You got to use it to grow money instead of trying to make money, because at the end of the day, it's just digital stealing.
Right. So I think my biggest fear with something like this is, and it's one of the things that Carl Sagan talked about, and it's like the idea that when we live in a world that's because of technology, and this is a great example, is that things are far more complicated than most people can understand.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about. I worry about money being so complicated. If you don't understand it, then someone can get over on you very easily. And that's what I worry about, because money didn't used to be very complicated. 100 years ago, money was incredibly simple, right? Like, I have this corn, I'm going to bring it to the market, and you're going to give me some gold for it. And, these gold coins have value, and I can turn them into rings, or I can go buy something else with them. Like, it was just incredibly simple. And we've made it incredibly more complicated, and I don't know that it's benefited most people.
And at this point, I feel like all we could do is try to learn this new system, because not even the government understands it. Now they're talking about making a reserve when they should have had one. You know what I'm saying? Like, even Germany had like a little bit of a Bitcoin reserve, but they stupidly dropped it, like sold it all. And then at this point, they've already lost like billions of dollars on what that money would have been worth if they just kept that cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so, we'll do some research, and if anyone out there is really into the Bitcoin or the this general conversation and would like to come and educate us a little bit more, I'd love to have someone who's a little bit of an expert on this, because you know more than I do, but I'd love
pretty
to get
much
some more.
The way that the direction that it's going, the tokenization is like stocks. Like, you know how like you could buy some stocks for like Apple, and that money's basically like going into the company, so then they could basically reinvest and do that kind of stuff. That's where the tokenization is going for. It's going to be one day it's going to be stocks, and then one day it's just, are you invested into Apple coin? Are you invested into Google coin?
Right,
but
when I invest in Apple, right, I own whatever percent of their. When I buy that stock, I own a tiny percent of their business, so that when they sell more computers, a real thing in real life, the value of my investment goes up.
Yeah.
With these things, like, what's the real thing that they're connected to?
And they'd lose their things with their wallets. Like, if you have a wallet and you have coins, that there's a cap on it, so that means there's a limit. So like, let's say if there's 100 million of it, it gets divided equally. If some of it gets lost, some of it gets burned, like what Andrew Tate did with the coin that he's been endorsing. He burned $150 million worth of it. So anybody that was invested into it, they made some money, whether if they sold it, whether if they kept it, whether whatever happened to it, because he didn't need the money, but he knows that he has the ability to affect markets. So he's doing that kind of stuff. So that's limited. Rather than money, You could say you own this part of the company and whatever. Let's say you have like a 20% increase in your year, but your money got inflated 50%.
Yeah.
You didn't make anything.
Right.
It's basically just more complicated rather than a coin that's publicly traded. You could literally see it like, okay, I have this amount. There's not going to be any more made because it's digitalized and it's supposed to be that amount. People are going to, lose it. People are going to do whatever is going to happen to it. I say die because there's people that literally like have died with billions of dollars in their wallets and, who's going to guess 16 letters to get into their wallet.
Right.
So there's literally money out there that's never going to get recovered in these digital assets that even in Fortnite, one thing, tokenization and what Fortnite is doing is a little bit different, but it goes back to like NFTs. Bro, in Fortnite, you could buy freaking Jordans. And people are literally like buying shoes and buying like clothes, custom items that you could put onto your characters. And that's crazy to me because I remember when Fortnite was just, the skins was already crazy. The buying the different skins for like the guns was crazy. Like what a skin is pretty much like just a look.
Yeah.
And people are buying these, and Fortnite is only getting crazier with what they're doing. They're selling music on Fortnite as NFTs just because they're digital products. Like this world that we're going into is going into a digital world. We're basically, everything that we have right now is basically getting done again digital. It could sound hard to understand, but it's simple. Like at least with the tokenization in the stock market, and then the music, and then the NFTs.
It just seems like it's so easy to abuse, and I don't see like what a regular working people get out of this.
Honestly, I don't see what people get out of buying shoes on Fortnite, but people are buying it.
That's what I'm. No, so that's exactly like what are my digital Jordans? Like what?
And what is buying a physical pair of Jordans doing for you?
I don't buy no Jordans, so that's. Yeah.
So for somebody, I don't buy Fortnite shoes, but I see that people are still buying it. From my outside point of view, it's people want to flex on people.
Yeah.
People just want to be like, oh, do you even have this on this game, or do you even have that? Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as when it was in real life. Oh, you bought shoes, you bought a nice jacket,
fair
or do you
enough.
have this, that? It's the same thing as just getting digital. It's getting on the computer.
Fair enough. You're right.
A lot of people buy and spend a lot of money in fashion, and now people are just doing the same thing digitally. Digital fashion.
Yeah.
And now people are selling their own music. Like there's music that you could literally go on YouTube and listen for free, but if you want to play it on Fortnite, you could pay like $10 and you could have it. And that they're making more money than people actually streaming their music. Like it's a whole different concept.
Wow. I guess there's opportunities out there.
Yeah. That's why we got to get educated with that, and don't sleep on the tokenization of anything. I would have been rich if I invested into everything that I was studying in my junior year of high school. But I didn't even have the money. That's the most important part. You need to get the money first.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anything? Engineer Des got something before we wrap for the day.
I remember I was telling you about this earlier today. Did you hear about the new thing Microsoft's doing with the chip or whatever?
This is quantum computing stuff, right?
Yeah. Have you seen anything about it? No. Ah, damn.
Well, yeah, we'll have to look into that one too. The breakthroughs in quantum computing.
I did want to mention though. I remember seeing this video the other day. I think it was like, is this dude Dawson?
Ryan Dawson?
Yeah, Ryan Dawson.
Okay,
He did like an episode of basically like CAI. Well, yeah, CAI, something like that, which is basically like advanced AI.
Yeah.
And the idea is, because it was a 30-minute video, is that we're going to create AI to be so smart that it's going to create its own AI, and it's going to create more, like, it's going to keep creating something smarter than it, like how we created AI, which is going to be smarter than us.
AI
it's going to be
inception.
completely alien to us, yeah.
Interesting.
But it makes sense because you don't understand AI. I don't understand AI, but I understand it to a degree more.
Right.
And then there's somebody that actually knows how to make it. So there's levels to this. It's going to get to the point where once that guy creates an AI that's smarter than us, that could create its own sentient being, it's going to be crazy. But I would recommend watching that video. This world's going really fast. They're saying by 2040, like, we probably have like a 30% chance of like still being on this planet. Just because one of the things that could happen, which is crazy, is we could make an AI that makes an AI that, you know how like spam You basically
Yeah.
turn on a spam filter, and it just puts things that it thinks it's spam into it. If it decides, or if it's in its algorithm considers that humans is in the way of anything, it's gonna take it out just like a program, just like your spam automatically just puts that mail in there, and you never see it in the trash.
All right, so stock up. You need super soakers and things to cut cords with. You need big things to cut cords and water to spray the robots and cut their cords. That's what I'm working on. Maybe EMPs. We got a little EMP factory up in this bitch.
While they work.
Because I'm not letting no fucking Terminator take me out. Not doing it.
That's not. I don't want to say it's not anytime soon, because like they said, it's like
2040, motherfucker. That's soon.
Yeah, we could get ahead of it.
EMPs, super soakers.
I think
And
that 30%
hedge clippers.
chance is not that bad compared to like what I was thinking before.
AI is so intelligent they probably would figure out a way to. Like,
How? No, they can't. No,
What do you
there's,
mean? They
there's
would-
no
they would-
defeating hedge clippers and water and super soakers.
They would
Desmond.
probably figure out a way to fix that shit out. Like,
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah, you're
Release
done.
some pathogen. All right. So that all sounds very negative and stupid, but it's not. It's lovely and wonderful because we've had a wonderful day today. We talked to Liz Billz, who I found that very inspiring, certainly for my own health and some of the chronic conditions that I struggle with. So if you are struggling with any chronic voice pain, Liz is the one to help you. And if you want voice lessons in general, I don't know if she will still be open to voice lessons, but she's a phenomenal teacher. Also, if you have a chance to check her out, Liz Billz. There's a bunch of solo stuff. There's Liz Billz and the Change. Analog Heart back in the day made some great music. That was a Liz Billz band. So I highly recommend you checking out her performances. We have next week on the show. We will be back. We're gonna have no disasters over the next few weeks, and we're gonna have nice consistent shows. Ronnie Vieira will be with us. He's gonna talk to us about real estate a little bit, something that is certainly a pressing issue in many of our lives. The cost of housing. So Ronnie will be here. It's going to be a great show. Lots more to come over the coming weeks. If you would like to join us on the show, share what you're doing, come on, give your 2 cents about what we're talking about, come be a part of the show. We'd love to have you. We're looking to grow, and new people will help us grow. In the meantime, grow in your community, grow outwards, share your love and joy with the world. Any last words from you, DZ? Nope. Engineer Des, any last words for the day? All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Doing Better Show. I am Oliver Ox. We will see you soon.